Hi guys, this is Chris with Lazy Oaks Ranch. Today I'm here with Smokey and we're going to work on probably one of the most important things you can teach a horse on the ground, and that's to yield their hindquarters away from you and in a circle at close range. So we're going to start, you can call it a hindquarter yield, you can call it a circling game, you can call it a driving game, whatever you want to call it. It's all kind of the same principle, and every horseman you see do stuff on the ground, they're all going to have their own version of it. So what I'm going to look for from him is I want to be able to point with this hand that's going to hold the rope. And this will, if you think about it, that it's blocking his left eye, that's a good way to look at it, how to hold your hand the right way. So it's going to block his left eye here. And I am going to add pressure behind him. And when I add pressure behind him, hopefully, in a perfect world, he steps off just like that. Now your body position is really important in this. You want to be behind his shoulder. If I get in front of his shoulder, watch what happens. If I get in front of his shoulder, he stops because I'm adding pressure in front of this is shoulder line, and I'm adding pressure backwards. So I'm going to get behind the shoulder and I'm going to ask him to walk off. Now most horses are going to want to just trot with this. It takes a while to get to where they'll just walk off every time you ask them. But that's the ultimate goal, is for them to be calm, cool, collected, and then just walk off every time you ask them and not freak out about the pressure. Okay? I'm just going to let him walk around for a minute. I'm going to step in front of him and say, whoa. Ideally, he walks right into me like he just did. That's a really good thing that we're looking for. So once again, I'm going to walk behind his shoulder. Whoa. And I want him to move. If he starts moving without me asking him, I'm going to go back to petting him. Go back to that first game of, not moving your feet. Okay? Now I'm going to block his eye. My body's behind his shoulder. And if you notice, the second I pointed, he started walking. If they really broke to it, you don't even have to add pressure behind. You can just point, and they know what that means. So we're just let him walk around. Look at his headset. His headset's really nice and low. He knows this well. He knows that, eventually we'll stop doing this if he just does the things that I'm asking him to do. So I'm going to keep my body behind his shoulder. I'm going to keep moving slightly forward. You can stand in a circle and stand in one spot and let him circle around you. That's fine. But don't back up. If you back up, they're taking your space the entire time. If you have a horse that's really pushy, you really want to walk into them as much as possible. So I'll just kind of show you. If I walk into him here and I walk in him, it's not going to become a circle, but he's going to have to move his body away from me. I have more pressure, and he's going to have to yield the space to me. So if you have one that's pushy, he's not pushy, but if you have one that's pushy, you really want to make sure you're walking into them. So while I'm walking him around, and I'm standing right behind his shoulder, and I'm holding the lead with my left hand. If I'm on the left side, I'll hold it with my left hand. I want to keep an eye on what his body's doing. Like right now, his head's starting to drop a little bit lower. His eyes look soft. If he stops walking, I'm gonna add a little pressure behind. Just gonna click and lift my hand. And if he'll just keep walking like this, that's great. But we want to see when he calms down or he releases, he looks pretty calm, but if he releases anything, whether it be if his lips get softer, his eyes get softer, he drops his head, any of those things, blows out, any of those things at all, we want to make sure we stop on that so he understands that if he's going to walk around nicely, gently, in a circle the way we're asking him to, once he calms down, it's over. I don't like to lunge a horse just for exercise. Yeah, it's great, but I like to work their mind. Whoa. I don't know if you can see, but his body language stopped. And I'm going to walk backwards. I don't know if you see this, but I'm walking backwards, and he's coming right to me. The second I step in front of him to stop him, I back up a couple steps, and that invites him to come into me. Okay? So, now we're going to go to the other side, and we're going to ask for the exact same thing. So I'm going to go on this side. And if the horse steps off nicely and does a circle, I'm not going to fight with him too much about the truly yielding the hindquarters, which I'll talk about in a minute here. I'm going to get behind his shoulder. I'm going to block the eye. I'm going to add pressure from behind. And in a perfect world, he should just step off just like that. Calm, not worried about it. A really nice transition from stop to walk. Whatever they do on the ground, they're going to do when you're on their back. If your horse jumps to a trot when you ask him to go off in a circle, they're likely to do that while you're on them. So right now, I don't know if you can tell, but Smokey's hind end's a little bit closer to me than I like. So I'm just going to swing the rope to him. He's going to trot for a bit. But I want to make sure that he understands that if his butt gets close to me, I'm going to tap him with the end of the rope. Not hard, just a little tap. And he's going to probably go, oh my God, he's going to trot, which is fine for a second. Because he might think I want him to speed up. I don't. I'm going to give him a second to see if he calms down. If he doesn't, we're going to stop. We're going to start over. But I don't want him getting his... Whoa. He blew out, so I'm going to stop him. And see, I took a couple steps back. He walked right into me. I'll talk a lot more about this later, but I don't know if you noticed, but I'm on his right side. He walked into me with his right eye. Most horses are going to... See how he turned his head there? He's looking over there, but most horses are going to do what he just did. And they're going to look at you through the left eye, and they're not going to be okay with you being on this right side at all. That's one of the main things that we work through in our groundwork program. Okay, so he looks pretty calm. Now I'm going to ask him to walk off again. Just walk. And this time you'll notice that his butt's a lot further away from me. He's actually yielding that hind over to me a little bit. And if you have a horse that's not giving the hind at all, you want that hind to swing away from you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to look at it and go, whoa. You see how he swung that over? If you have a horse that's a little pushier, you're really going to want to work on that. If you have one that's not going to move off when you ask, you're going to want to work on that a lot more. Eventually want to get up to where we step in front of them and they come right to us. That's that relationship we're looking for, that when we block their path, they come right to us. So I'm going to do another regular hindquarter yield so you can see that we're going to walk in a circle, and then I'm going to look at his butt and I want him to swing it away from me. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so I'm going to go right here, ask him to move off. Use as little pressure as you can possibly get away with this, and you'll be a lot better off. If you're always using hard pressure, you always need hard pressure. So we always try to avoid that. As Craig Cameron says, give your horse the best deal you can. If you haven't seen Craig Cameron, you should look up his videos. He's a hoot and a holler. Whoa, I'm going to stop him. Let him come in. And he swung his butt away. So initially, I'm going to lean over and I'm going to look at it and get it to go away. Eventually, once the horse is pretty broke to it, you can just step in front of them, take a couple steps back, and they'll come right to you, and their butt will swing away from you. If you think about it, the back end is their defensive end of their body. That's what they use to defend themselves against predators, to argue with other horses. A lot of times, they don't want to give that up. So if you can get them to voluntarily disarm themselves, that says a lot about the relationship you have with that horse. Okay? So we're going to go around one more time. I'll show you guys the leaning over technique one more time. But I'm going to get behind his shoulder. And you notice that Smokey's already going for it. Smokey knows exactly what's expected of him. And some of the horses, when they come in their first week or two, they have a really, really hard time with this. And it's something that we really pride ourselves on getting through this with every single horse. If you get them to go on really light pressure on a point, when you go to get on that horse's back and you go to ask them something, they're going to move off really easily with minimal pressure, and they're going to be a lot more broke for you. Okay? So now I'm going to show you the lean over method. So I'm going to go, whoa, and he should yield his hind to me like that and more or less disarm himself that way. So he's treating me like I'm the herd leader. He's disarming himself. He's hanging, he's just trusting and respecting that, if he does what I want, that everything's going to go well. All right? So that's the gist of the small circle or the hindquarter yield. I kind of combine the two. But a hindquarter yield, you want the butt to swing away from you. Where we actually poked, previously, and he moved his hip over. These two go hand in hand. If you can't get them to move their hip over by poking them, you're not going to get their hip to move over by this. If you get them better at moving their hip by doing this, you're going to get a better result while you're poking them. So this is how this whole works. The most critical component I can tell you about again and again is your body position is everything. Right now, if you notice, my body is facing that direction. I'm not looking at Smokey. If I come over here and I pick my hand up, he's not going to do anything because I haven't given him a cue yet. When I turn my body to him, let's just see. If I turn my body to him, he feels that pressure immediately. He starts stepping off. So make sure that where you're looking and where your body's facing, make sure you're paying attention to that because it makes a big difference to the horse. Okay, and I'm going to go, whoa. And he yielded that side really nicely. Okay, let's check the other side real quick. I'm going to show you that pressure thing one more time. Whoa. So, interesting thing that's happening here. He wants to get his right eye on me because we just worked on the right eye and he got really, really comfortable in the right eye on this exercise. So he's trying to look at me through it. So now I'm gonna ask him to move off. Nice and gently and softly. And in later videos, we're gonna do this at a walk, and we're gonna go to a trot, and we're gonna go to a lope, and then we're gonna go up and down in the transitions from stop, each step all the way up to lope, and then all the way back down, and that'll give you those same buttons when you're on that horse. A lot of times downward transitions are the hardest. Okay? And now I'm gonna go, whoa, and you'll notice that right away he comes to me, he swings his butt away. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That's it for hindquarter yields and the small circle. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.